Hey guys, and welcome to class. Today we're going to be analyzing the episode Common People from the show Black Mirror. Now, in this episode, it basically describes the life of a couple who is just simple common people. Now, the issue is that Mike and Amanda, the couple, they end up going through some hardships. Amanda ends up eventually getting a brain tumor and ends up slipping into a coma. Now, at first, there is almost nothing that they can do. However, Mike ends up stumbling upon a company who promises to regain Amanda's consciousness. Now, that sounds amazing. Your wife is coming back to life. However, there are a few tricks that are lying under their sleeves. Now, things begin to twist little by little. The company that is essentially rebooting Amanda's consciousness, Rivermind, ends up constantly raising the prices. Amanda begins to get glitches, starting to behave strangely, and even starts literally spewing ads. Now, to avoid these things, you have to pay more and more and more and more. The issue is that Mike and Amanda, they don't have a lot of money. Mike ends up even entering a humiliating live stream platform just to simply get by. Now, eventually, the stress just becomes too much to bear on both of them, from Amanda literally being a robot and almost like a revenue model to this company, and then Mike not being able to afford the bills and having to do literally anything just to keep his wife alive. Eventually, it becomes just way too much. Amanda asks Mike to kill her, and he does. And it's such a heartbreaking story, but it has so much depth into it and so much underlying meanings. I feel like it's a great video show to analyze. And without further ado, here's the clip.
Oh, yeah, that's a commercial message.
As an advertisement?
It's something that we are trialing as a part of the evolution of our service. You must be in one of our test cells. Let me just check and see.
So you're running ads through me? You're like giving me like commercial fucking Tourette's?
Okay, not all the customers appreciate the messages.
Ads! Those are ads!
Yeah.
Not messages, ads!
They are designed to be contextually relevant to the situation that you're in. So they will stand out less in a conversation. They will be less intrusive.
That makes
They
it
are
worse.
What's your next little trick? You gotta make my asshole whistle jingles?
No, that's not part of our development
Can
cycle.
we opt out of this shit?
Of course you can. Yeah, all you need to
Is
do.
upgrade to Rivermind Plus.
That is right, Amanda. Upgrade.
We can't afford that. You people are sick.
Without further ado, let's get into the media analysis of Common People. So the conflict theory is going to be that Rivermind essentially holds all of the power because it's controlling Amanda's life. Mike and Amanda have limited resources, making them vulnerable to exploitation, and the company uses their lack of wealth to force dependency and profit from their suffering. Amanda's consciousness becomes a commodity, showing how powerful groups treat weaker groups as resources. The intertextuality is that some parallels medical dramas between the emotional cost of life support decisions and adding death to Mike and Amanda's situations. We see this a lot with a lot of regular citizens being upset with the profit that these life support companies are getting from keeping their loved ones alive. The anomaly here is that technology replaces the moral boundaries, leaving the couple in a state of literal normlessness. Nothing is normal about a AI technology that is keeping somebody alive, but you have to pay for no ads. That's insane. Human life ultimately becomes a subscription, which destroys the basic value that a person's existence should not be owned or rented. The alienation here is that Amanda becomes alienated from her own body and identity since her consciousness is no longer fully hers. She is reduced to a digital product controlled by a multi-millionaire dollar company. And Mike's and Amanda's relationship also becomes alienated by technology. It creates emotional distance and stress. The deviance here is that Mike's emotional attachment to Amanda becomes distorted by stress and hopelessness, weakening the social bonds that guide morals. The functionalism here is that normally we share basic values about respecting life and depending on these type of institutions such as healthcare and tech to support us. But in this episode, those norms completely crumble. Everything gets replaced by a profit-driven system that treats people like accounts instead of humans. Mike and Amanda is left drifting and desperate. It feels chaotic. Without a common set of norms holding things together, the whole social structure starts to wobble, and the characters are the ones that have to pay for it. The unconsciousness here is that Mike never fully says a lot of things, but carries it beneath the surface. Like an iceberg, the small part we see are his tired eyes, but deep down, he has an unspoken fear of losing Amanda. The ID, ego, and the superego. Now, the ID would be Mike's raw fear of losing Amanda, his impulse to grab any solution, even this type of risky technology. The ego is his attempt to balance his emotions with desperation. He starts trying to budget practically and still live a normal routine while paying for this. The superego is basically the final scene that carries the weight of what's right and what's unbearable, ultimately deciding to kill Amanda. In conclusion, the deeper meaning of Common People centers on how love, grief, and desperation collide with a system that values profit more than actual human life. The episode strips everything down to one painful truth. When technology becomes the gatekeeper of care, compassion, and even consciousness, ordinary people are essentially left powerless. Mike's journey shows how far someone will go to hold on to the person that they love. But Amanda's existence becomes a product, a subscription, and eventually a commodity, and that's the whole point. The story isn't just about how technology goes wrong. It's about a society where humanity is slowly replaced by transactions, where suffering becomes content, and where emotional needs get swallowed by systems designed for profit, not people. Beneath all the tension and tragedy, the episode asks a haunting question. What happens to love, dignity, and identity when the world around us stops treating humans as human?